I'd spent years relying on just pharmaceuticals, and they managed the symptoms amazingly, but they never healed the root cause, which for me, I had no stress management skills. So meditation combined with functional mushrooms was healing me in places that pharmaceuticals will never reach. And that's so empowering. And it was emotional, right? It was the moment I realized I'm not trapped in my biology. I can change it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Desiree Caruso, Naturopathic Doctor, and I am interviewing my friend and colleague, Brandi Garden, the co-founder of Aversio Wellness and also the author of Healing Your Body, Mind, and Soul. Today, we are diving into Chapter 9, Practicing Meditation Daily. Brandi, you describe your first profound meditation in December of 2020, the moment you suddenly became aware of an eternal field of invisible information where all possibilities exist. That's how you describe it, and that's powerful. Can you take us back to that morning and share what shifted inside of you?
Yeah. Wow. It's a long time ago now, and such a different style of meditation because it was not a guided meditation I was doing at that time. We had taken the Ziva meditation course, so it was, I'll tell you, that morning felt like the moment my whole inner world cracked open. It was dark and it was cold and it was honestly inconvenient. It was 6 a.m. in my best friend Jen's basement across the street. Another friend had joined us, and the three of us had just made this promise to finally learn how to meditate properly because we thought there were rules, right? We were doing something wrong because we weren't experiencing what others were. And then suddenly, in that stillness of that morning, something shifted for me. I felt myself drop beneath the noise of my mind into this, like you say, vast, quiet field that felt eternal and like an ocean of pure possibility for me in that moment. So it wasn't a thought or an idea. It was really an experience. And in that moment, I realized there is so much more available to us than this small version of life our stress and conditioning allow us to see. And I just wanted more of it. I wanted more of it. And now, almost 6 years later, and now that I understand how the brain works, I know I had just changed my brainwaves. And when you feel that for the first time, it is magical.
It is magical, and it's another layer and dimension of presence.
Yes.
And I think we could all use more of that in our lives.
Yep.
You and two of your besties committed to waking up at 6 a.m. every day to learn meditation through the Ziva meditation course. What was it about this structure and this commitment that finally gave you access to the depth that you've been searching for?
Yeah, I think it was the discipline that changed everything, right? It was like everything, it's habits. So for years, we kind of dabbled in meditation, and it was a pretty little visualization here and 5 minutes of a nap there and a calming breath. But we weren't actually training our minds. So when we started that Ziva course, it gave us a framework, and it was a science-backed method, and there was a level of accountability that we'd never had before. So waking up at 6 a.m. was symbolic. It was us saying, we're no longer hoping for change. We are creating the conditions for it. So within days of starting it, you learn a mantra in that course, and the mindfulness and the structure, it just clicked. It became a practice instead of a hobby. So when you show up for yourself every single day for anything, and it's before the emails and before the kids and before the chaos, you start accessing parts of your mind and body that you did not even know existed. So that early morning commitment became my doorway into the depth that I had been craving for so long, but didn't know that was what I was looking for.
And it's really cool to witness you too, because I think you're one of the most disciplined people I've ever met. Like, you're very competitive with yourself in a very healthy way of like, I'm not giving up on myself and I am doing this every day. And it's very cool to watch and also see the changes. I think a lot of us could use more of that in our life. And moving into mantras, you chose the mantra Swaha, surrender to higher energies. And you have repeated it, I'm sure, thousands, if not tens of thousands of times. How did this practice of surrender begin reshaping your healing and how you moved around and through the world?
Yeah. We were given a list of words to choose from that would be what we repeated as our mantra. I had never heard that word. It's a Sanskrit word. And choosing Swaha felt like choosing a new identity. Like, it was big. So it
Yeah.
means surrender to the higher energies, or just surrender in my mind as I'm saying it, and repeating it over and over softened something in me that I think had been very rigid for decades.
Mm,
And up until then, like have said so many times, I was the classic Gen X doer, right? Push
mm,
hard, figure it out, hustle and grind, hustle your way through it. But when you start to whisper, and I don't say it out loud, it was like Emily Fletcher, the leader in Ziva meditation, she describes it as a whisper of an echo in the back of your
mm,
mind. So when you whisper swaha in your mind thousands of times, you start to let go of the illusion that you're supposed to control everything, right?
mm.
That surrender became my superpower. It opened the door for healing to me. It made space for intuition to come in. It helped me stop resisting life and start partnering with it. So it didn't make me passive. I think it made me receptive. And that subtle shift changed the entire trajectory of my emotional and physical healing in the moment. So thank you for the compliment that I am committed, and I'm not just saying it. I truly
Mhm.
believe we all have everything we need within us to heal. And that doesn't mean I'm healed. I am healing. It is a process. And I think we're always shifting from wholeness to healing, from wholeness to healing. And I'm very in acceptance or surrendered to the idea that that will be my life. But I will never give up on myself, because it feels so good when you touch wholeness.
And I think there's a reframe and shift in perspective that life is a becoming process. There's
Yes,
no arrival. You can achieve things, but you're always becoming.
100%.
You're always becoming. Okay, you have this metaphor that is in this chapter that is just so genius. And it talks about imagining stress as withdrawals
Yes.
and meditation as deposits into a bank account, this analogy.
Mhm.
How did reframing stress this way shift your emotional regulation in daily life?
Yeah, that honestly changed my life. For years, I was overdrafting my nervous system without even realizing it. I think so many people are. If you're a teacher, I know you are. Parenting, withdrawal, deadlines, withdrawal, building a brand new company, multiple withdrawals before breakfast.
Big one.
Big. And yeah, meditation became finally my deposit, right? The thing that replenished my internal balance. So once I saw it that way, everything, it's like it just clicked. Instead of feeling like stress was a failure on my part, it was just math to me. And if I want stability, I need more deposits than withdrawals. Like, it's just math. It was so simple. So I think just that simple reframing, it gave me emotional regulation I had never had before. It meant fewer tears and fewer flare-ups and far more moments of joy. So meditation taught me that I could stop overdrafting my own nervous system. Like, how empowering is that? It's the only
So
time I've ever loved math.
So empowering. Wow, there you go.
Yeah.
Double whammy. By early 2021, you share that inflammation had decreased, psoriasis was gone, and you could really drop into the bliss field within seconds. What did it feel like to witness your body respond so dramatically to meditation?
It felt like witnessing a miracle, except it wasn't magic, it was biology. And for the first time in my adult life, I was living with less inflammation, not because of a pharmaceutical injection. And yeah,
Mhm.
my psoriasis disappeared first, which makes sense from the outside. I could drop into the bliss field in seconds instead of minutes is so true. And it felt like my body was like, thank you for finally giving me what I needed. I'd spent years relying on just pharmaceuticals, and they managed the symptoms amazingly, but they never healed the root cause, which for me, I had no stress management skills. So meditation combined with functional mushrooms was healing me in places that pharmaceuticals could never, will never reach. And that's so empowering. And it was emotional, right? It was the moment I realized I'm not trapped in my biology. I can change it. Like, I am the source of my thoughts. I am the source of my healing. I have everything I need in me, but I've got to get to work. I've got to be committed, and I've got to stick to it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so shifting to 2023, that's where
Yeah.
you wrote that you felt like you were aging backwards. And I mean, we talked about it with your hair coloring,
Yeah.
right? We're like, you're having more growth of more color and
Yeah.
less of the gray. You also describe having more joy, less stress, you're off all the pharmaceuticals. How did learning the neuroscience and quantum physics
Mm.
pieces behind meditation really help explain what you were experiencing?
Yeah, learning the science made everything make sense for me. Like, it was
Mm,
just the coming together. So I read a
yeah.
book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it explained in scientific language what my soul already knew to be true. And I mean, I don't know how many times I said yes while I was reading it, but the neuroscience just showed me that stress literally wires the brain into old patterns, and meditation unwires them. So,
Mm,
quantum physics showed me that my thoughts and my emotions are constantly interacting with a field of possibilities, of unlimited possibilities out there.
mm,
Epigenetics showed me that I wasn't a prisoner of my genetics, which is what I had already always been taught. My environment and my emotions were influencing how the genes expressed themselves. So, when my inflammation disappeared, when I felt like I was aging backwards, I finally understood why. Science finally explained what my soul already knew, and I was just catching up.
yeah, you were just catching up. So, in this chapter, you talk about your first meditation retreat where you went to Cancun in 2024.
Yeah.
This meditation retreat, you meditated for 40 hours, you studied neuroscience, you did coherence healings and walking meditations on the beach at this retreat. What was the single most transformative insight that you brought home from that experience?
Whew. Yeah, I think the transformative insight was understanding not intellectually, but experientially what
Mm,
happens when the heart and the brain come into true harmony. We call that coherence. So
mhm,
during coherence healings and walking meditations, there were moments where my heart felt wide open like it hadn't before, and my brain was so relaxed. And in that alignment, I felt connected to everyone and everything around me in an instant. So it taught me that healing isn't something that we force, which
mhm,
old me, I'm a recovering perfectionist, and there's really no room for perfectionism here. It's something that happens naturally when we get our internal systems working together instead of against each other. And I think there's a lot of learning, like alongside 40 hours of meditation, there were 25 hours of lectures on neuroscience. And when we get the knowledge to work with, now we can get the brain to feel what the heart has always been leading with. And when you
mhm,
connect the two, it's a very beautiful, relaxed understanding that is not happening in the brain alone.
mhm, mhm. There's nothing quite like that coherence when
Yeah.
you feel it.
Yeah.
What I love about this chapter is there's something that you say that is very grounding, especially for people who are maybe they just can't get into meditation. They're struggling with that. And you say there's no right or wrong way. You can't mess this up.
Yeah.
I think that's validating for people because we think that it has to be a certain way.
Yeah.
For someone who feels intimidated by meditation, what does it really mean to simply sit and connect with the real you?
Yeah, it means we remove that pressure to get it right. I can't tell you how many people say to me, I want to meditate, but I don't know how. Yeah, I need to
Yes.
learn how. Meditation is not about stopping your thoughts or becoming a monk. Like, I think that's what they're thinking. Like, I can't stop my thoughts, so I must be doing it wrong. But no, if you're aware that you're not stopping your thoughts, you're actually doing it right. And that's a victory that you recognized that you were having a thought in the moment because it means you can come back to the present moment and stop having the thought.
Mhm.
So it's simply sitting with yourself, the real you, the part of you that's always listening, always observing, always aware. So there is no right or wrong way. You really cannot mess this up. If you are breathing and you are paying attention, you are doing it. Meditation, it's not about silence, it's about self connection. There's always going to be noise about us. And I think if you are somebody that can meditate on the New York City subway or on a rocket, you know you've made it. If you are somebody that's waiting for the silence in your life to come and allow you to meditate, you're going to be waiting a long time. It's not about perfection. It's just about commitment and consistency.
Yeah, you have to create that space
Yeah.
and then be committed to it and do it consistently.
Yeah.
You also write that meditation is learning to be relaxed in the heart and awake in the brain, to return to the present moment again and again without judgment. How did learning to be the witness transform your healing journey?
Yeah. I mean, becoming the witness changes everything. When you learn to observe your thoughts instead of getting swept away by them, you create space.
Mm-hmm.
Space to choose differently. Everything's a choice, right? To
Mm-hmm.
respond differently, to be different. You get to choose to show up how you're choosing to show up instead of it just being the reaction that is a condition or a pattern or a program you've been running maybe for 30 years. It's the difference between reacting from those old patterns and instead responding from presence. So witnessing my thoughts gave me freedom from them because some of my thoughts were not, I had not been aware how intrusive those thoughts were. We talk about, I can't remember who said this to me, but a friend calls it the roommate. The roommate that's always there in your mind. You need to tell them to shut up sometimes. And the more you shut them down, the less they'll talk to you. And when I got freedom from that roommate, it just became the foundation of my healing. It was the beginning.
Mm-hmm. You describe dissolving into this endless black sea of nothingness, a mystical meditative state people have described for thousands of years. What did that moment teach you about the nature of consciousness?
Oh. That's a whole podcast. But to be short, it really taught me consciousness is not inside our heads.
Yeah.
It's something we belong to, right? When I
Mm-hmm.
dissolved into that endless black sea of nothingness, I wasn't scared because I wasn't alone, right? I
Yeah.
felt connected to everything for the first time. So when you have pure awareness without a body, without a story, without limits, whatever they are for you, it's magical. And I understood why people had been meditating for thousands of years. Like, oh, this is why it will never go away. And it's always been here. That state just reminds you that you are so much more than your circumstances. You are so much more than your symptoms. You are so much more than your past. So in the nothingness, I realized I was connected to everything, and so is everyone else. So
Mm-hmm.
get in there. I'll see you there.
Yeah, get in there. Chapter 9 shows how meditation helped you connect to the unified field. But in Chapter 10, asking for synchronicities,
Mm,
these connections start showing up in your physical reality.
absolutely.
Brandi, would you say that meditation is what opened the door for synchronicities to start flowing into your life?
Yes. Meditation tuned my awareness so that I could see what was always there. And seeing is believing.
Can't wait. Don't miss it. Be well, everyone.